Welcome to You, Me, Empathy. Thank you for listening. We would like to remind you that this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only, and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Known as just a silly boy with a feely heart. Please consider supporting the show. Check us out on Patreon or simply leave a review on iTunes. Here's your host and creator of the show, Known Wells.
Hello, feely humans. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy. My name is Known Wells. How are ya? Thank you so much for being here. Today is episode 72. I am chatting today with my friend Tamara Albanna about spirituality and the divine feminine. We talk about spirituality and mental health, Tamara's complex PTSD diagnosis, our ties to ancestry, and the divine feminine, which is a thing that I didn't really know much about. I've heard that phrasing before, and Tamara was gracious enough to enlighten me. It was really interesting, and I'm really grateful for her and her story, and I'm grateful for you, listeners. I hope you enjoy this episode. Before we get to the episode, however, a couple of things. I wanted to read a couple of new iTunes reviews. I'm going to read two today. So please leave a review in iTunes, Apple Podcasts for You, Me, Empathy. It's easy to do, takes a couple of minutes, and I'll read them here on the show. And guess what? Also, they make my day. They're the best thing ever. My heart is filled with joy whenever I see a new review pop up. So go out there, leave a review. Be honest, be authentic, be yourself. Let me know what you think about this show. All right? Okay, so I am going to read a review. This one comes from the delightful handle, Luigi Vampa of Rome. This person says, open hearts facing each other, 5 stars. Quote, from theme song to topical focus, this podcast is a delight. You, Me, Empathy is obviously a passion project, and that's probably where its magic comes from. There's something just incredible about folks being honest and available in this way, especially while avoiding the traps of showiness and self-aggrandizement. You, Me, Empathy is 1 part Bob Ross and 2 part adult Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It's a wonderful day with Known Wells and his friends. I'm glad I get to listen. End quote. Oh my gosh, Luigi Vampa of Rome, you are delight. You are a delight. Oh my gosh, 1 part Bob Ross and 2 parts adult Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I mean, I don't see anything better than that. That is amazing, and thank you. That makes me so happy. It's the best. Thank you, Luigi Vampa of Rome. If you are in Rome, I don't know. Who knows, but you're a delight. Thank you. You're the best. I'm going to read one more. This one is from Cecilia.Dobson. The title is So Needed in Our World. Quote, You, Me, Empathy is breaking down the stigma of mental health issues, which has been a topic that we, as a human race, has chosen to ignore. End quote. Thank you, Cecilia. It's true. There's so much that we ignore out of fear, out of ignorance, out of just not wanting to go there. It's scary, right? It's exploring our mental health is scary. It's uncomfortable, but you know what? It's also so worth it in the end. It's so beautiful. There's so much that we can learn about ourselves, and in doing that, it gives us the opportunity to better connect with other feely humans, better connect with ourselves, better understand like what we want and what we need. And that's a beautiful thing. So thank you, Cecilia. Thank you, Luigi, for those beautiful iTunes reviews. And listeners, again, you can leave a review too if you'd like. That would be wonderful. And I'll read them here on the show. Okay. Make sure to follow You, Me, Empathy on Twitter and Instagram at You, Me, Empathy. We also have a Facebook community at facebook.com/groups/You, Me, Empathy. I also have a Patreon page if you want to support the show for $1 a month. It's 25 cents an episode or $4 a month. You get bonus content and other little goodies. And okay, that's all I'll say. This is episode 72 with my guest, Tamara Albanna, about spirituality and the divine feminine. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a podcast about exploring the struggles we face in our day-to-day lives as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly, without judgment, about our neuroses, our mental illnesses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being human. You, Me, Empathy is a safe, friendly space designed to inspire the beauty in each of us. Today, I am thrilled to be exploring spirituality and mental health, and a whole slew of other things, with writer, tarot reader, perpetually wanderlust, and descendant of the priestesses of Sumer, Tamara Albanna. Hello, Tamara.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Can't complain.
Good. Well, we are connecting via Skype. You're
Yes.
all the way in Austria.
That's right, I'm in Vienna.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you always
Technology's amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Have you always lived in Austria?
So no, I've lived in a few different places. Austria is just kind of the latest destination. But because I was born in the Middle East, in Iraq specifically, I grew up in California, and I lived in Canada as well. And I lived in the Arabian Gulf for a while, and then we ended up here. So
Wow.
it's kind of all over the place. But
Truly are
yeah.
wanderlust.
Yes. So can't help that part of me.
I've been to Austria once. This was 2006, maybe? And we went over to, what's the town, Sound of Music town?
Were you in Salzburg?
I must have been. Wait.
You must have been in Salzburg.
Yeah, I must have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's one of my favorite places.
It's
absolutely beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful.
It is. It's stunning.
Yeah. Sure.
My last name, technically, there is a town in Austria that's Wels. It's Weiss or something like that, Austria. It's like on the border of Germany and Austria.
There or something.
Yeah. It's kind of fun.
Very cool. It's very cool.
Well, I'm very happy to have you here on the show, Tamara. We're going to talk about spirituality and all the lovely stuff that you're doing and your mental health story. But before we get into that, let's have a little emotional check-in. How are you doing today? How's your week been?
So I'm happy to say that today was a good day. I did mention to you prior, and I did post something about it on Instagram as well, that I had my quote-unquote headache marathon this week. When things get really overwhelming for me, I get migraines, and sometimes they will last for days, as I know a lot of people suffer with them and can understand. So that kind of knocked me on my backside for a while, and I wasn't able to really do anything. So it was tough for a bit because things needed to get done and whatnot, but I just had to put everything on hold because I physically couldn't do anything. So, but I'm happy that I'm I'm at the end of that now, and I am feeling much better. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you're on the tail end of it, but still,
Yeah.
I'm someone who hasn't ever
Yeah.
had migraines or anything like headaches
So
like
you
that.
never experienced that.
I mean, I've
Yeah.
had like headaches certainly, but like this
Yeah.
ongoing migraine thing, I've heard people talk
It's
about it. It
awful.
sounds terrible. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's just one of those things. So,
Do
um,
you like, I'm sure you've probably seen doctors, and what have they said?
oh gosh. Yeah. I mean, they'll tell me it's genetic. They'll tell me it's hormonal. They'll tell me it's stress related, and it's all of the above, basically. And it's just a matter of, fortunately, that doesn't come with the frequency it used to. Um, but it's just one of those things. When it hits, and you just have to kind of adjust and do the best you can and just ride it out. Because I mean, I've tried different sorts of medications and whatnot, and I just really hate the way they make me feel, and it almost makes it worse for me. So I just kind of wait for it to go on its own, and fortunately, it doesn't typically last that long, but when it does, it's pretty brutal. So yeah.
It's amazing how resilient we humans are. I mean,
Yes,
I was
indeed.
recently thinking about this because I've had stomach issues most of my
Yeah,
life, and
yeah.
I got to a place where I just kind of accepted the fact that
Hmm.
I was gonna
Hmm.
have tum issues,
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah,
and I finally made like a decision to go back to the doctor, and I'm
yeah.
actually making progress on it. But like
Oh,
there are like
wonderful.
so many things like just in the body
Hmm.
that medical science is still trying to wrap their head around.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah. I mean, a lot of things are still a mystery, and you just kind of have to deal with it. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're getting your issues looked at again and sorted out. I think, that's a huge part of self-care for sure. And that's something that I know I've struggled with in the past, accepting, that I do need to have things looked at and get help, in any way that I can get it. So for
So when
sure.
you are going through these migraine periods, what
Yeah.
are there things that do kind of help you?
Um, it's usually the typical, a dark room. I can't stand light. I'm pretty much unable to eat. So, that's kind of something that doesn't happen very much. I try and keep myself hydrated, but I find myself, I mean, sometimes I'll have to sleep through it or just, try and cope the best way I can because it can get pretty bad. So when you're in that sort of in the peak pain period, it's just, I mean, you do whatever you can to kind of ease it. And fortunately, my family knows how to respond, and they're very supportive about that. But I know it can't be easy to watch, a loved one have an episode like that. So
Yeah.
it is difficult. It's difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good that you have that support though. I mean, it's
Yeah.
because you're right. Like it's the hardest thing to watch our loved ones struggle, but it does
Yeah.
help to know like the game plan.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they just kind of went into autopilot almost,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. You've got to adjust the best way you can.
Yeah.
So, you know, what can we do? They
Y-
pass eventually. They pass.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess tell yourself, and this is something I tell myself often, tell yourself, I've been here before, I'll make it through it
Right.
again.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
So for me this week, I wanted to
Yeah.
just mention, last weekend I went to, over to our neighbors and friends' house to play a board game, which was a
Hmm.
delight. It was fun.
Hmm.
But I my wife sort of noticed this in me, and I noticed it in myself after the fact, but about halfway through the game I sort of kind of shut down And we were talking about it. My wife and I were talking about it after the fact. And I think I've had this weird thing in me most of my life, and it just stems from sort of my childhood experiences where I am experiencing something that could be perceived as a joyful experience and having a good time. And I get to a point where I can do that, and then I stop myself, and it's this, I think it's this thing where I don't allow myself to have that joy because I feel like I don't deserve it.
Right.
And it's this weird thing that I've had all of my life. It's like, I don't know if it's like in that area, I'm struggling with vulnerability to show people that I'm sort of having this unadulterated joy with this game or what, but I'm working through it in therapy. It's just this weird thing that, popped up this week.
But you acknowledge it, you understand it, and it's great that your wife picked up on it and was able to be supportive and not. So that's really important. And I mean, I can understand that. It's almost the fear of letting go,
sure,
in a sense, I guess. So I completely get that. That's I understand completely. Yeah, I do, for sure.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Well, let's explore your story, Tamara.
Sure.
Does that sound fun?
Of course.
So you probably know this question's coming. I want to understand a few seminal moments from your childhood, from your young adulthood, adolescence, wherever. Just a couple of seminal moments that speak to who you are today.
Well,
big questions.
No pressure. No, but just as and I should mention it, and it is something that I'm also working through with a therapist, but I have memory loss, a lot of memory loss from childhood. I don't really remember much. Things are very, very hazy. So I can't really say that, I can't really recall anything from that point in time. And I guess maybe I'm just not ready to, or, maybe I'll never be ready to, and that's okay. I've kind of learned to accept that. But I have to say that something really important, something that really changed my worldview and just kind of shifted a lot of things for me was when I visited the motherland, as I call it, when I went back to Baghdad in 2002, before the war. Unfortunately, had a chance to reconnect with family who I thought I would never see, who I last saw when I was a baby, and to really just kind of explore the city and have a deeper understanding of where I come from and where my ancestry is. And I think that just really, really just, it almost was like I was in another world, and it was nothing like I was told it would be, or that the media has shown me it would be, or anything like that. But I think that kind of put me on this sort of path of trying to have a deeper understanding of who I am, and where I came from, and where my life began. So that was definitely a big one for me, and that is, of course, completely linked to my spirituality and the sort of beliefs I hold today. So I think that kind of was a very pivotal moment. I was about 21 at the time, so that was definitely a big deal for me.
Early 20s are certainly a huge growth period for many of us. Certainly was for me. Now, when you went back home to Baghdad, what kinds of things are you gleaning? Like what are you picking up? What was your emotional state like?
That these people were just normal people, and that they just wanted the same things I did and everyone else did, and that there was such a richness in culture. I always kind of I fortunately never experienced anything negative growing up in the area of racism or anything like that. In California, I didn't feel like a quote unquote outsider or anything at all.
What part
So
of
that wasn't the
California?
case. Southern California.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wasn't the case at all. But I knew that, my background was different and I was always curious and I wanted to know what were people like. And I think hearing my native language in its accent that is so familiar to me, spoken all around me, that was just something that was completely mind blowing. It was crazy. And yes, I do suffer with anxiety. So there was moments, that were a bit less than wonderful because remember the regime and how it was. And it was a bit of a police state
Mm.
at that time. And I had to be very careful. And I was kind of there, and they kept telling me, okay, well, you can't linger too long in certain areas. You can't be saying certain things and whatnot. So I had to be very mindful of that because, I mean, I had never had that before. I usually just was able to speak, freely as I do now. And that wasn't an issue, but that was definitely something I had to think about. And I was a bit, there were areas and there were parts and, periods of time where I was a bit nervous, but all in all, it was actually a very, very positive experience and something I treasure to this day and always will, I'm sure. So it was amazing.
It sounds amazing. Was there a part of you that wanted to, I mean, during that time, you said this was 2002?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly like a lot of, racist stuff in culture, certainly a lot of conversation around that part of the world. Was there a part of you that wanted to just kind of like prove them wrong?
Of course, I think that still remains within me, and it still exists because I just wanted people to understand that these are also human beings, like other human beings all around the world, and there really isn't, much of a difference, and that we need to remember that we need to have, we need to remember our humanity. I mean, that can get so lost in rhetoric and. And especially now, the times we're living in and what's happening, it's easy to kind of get caught up in the madness of it all, I suppose, and forget there are human beings behind these stories that are being affected. So
yeah, I think that's a lesson we all need to reach in that.
Yeah,
we're all human. Humanity
exactly.
is what we are, each of us. So.
Yes, exactly.
Whether it requires experiences like you've had, or I mean that's why we say and people say that travel and experiencing other cultures is such a huge part of connecting and understanding ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah, it changes everything.
So after this experience, what'd you do next? Did you move back to California?
So we were in Canada at the time and in Toronto, and the war happened the following year, and we thought as much as I was anguished by the idea of the country being invaded again, and especially after I had seen it, and I was very fearful. And I did still have family there, of course. But the war happened and that was just something out of our control. So we decided to try and, turn it into the best possible experience that we can have by, okay, it's happening. There's nothing we can do, but the country needs to be rebuilt. And, we left it and we had the opportunity to do things quote unquote on the outside. Let's, bring all that back home and try and do something and help and fit in where we can. And that was the idea. And we moved to the Arabian Gulf and things just went to hell. The sectarian violence and all that. I mean, of course, democracy, without getting too political, democracy cannot come through the barrel of a gun. You just cannot remove a dictator and expect, things to just kind of fall into place neatly. It's not going to happen. And it didn't happen, and it got very ugly. And we realized pretty quickly that that wasn't going to happen. And I can't tell you, what that did and how my heart broke, just because we had these high hopes, and we still do. I mean, looking at it now even, but it just got so bad, and we just kind of found ourselves in this place of, well, now what? And we had to adjust, really, and go back to life, as it were, and do what we could do. But I think I kind of was lost at that point, and I never really quite found my footing again. My husband went back to work and does his thing, but I just kind of, I felt a little like, well, what do I do? And I think that really kind of contributed to past issues starting to come back to haunt me. Things that I hadn't dealt with or had adequate support for. So it did kind of send me into a bit of a downward spiral, I think, in that moment. So that was very, very tough for me, I have to say. Very difficult.
I think it would be for anyone. I mean, you have this
Yeah.
idea that you want to make a change, a transformation. You want to be a part of this, and it either you recognize that you maybe don't have that level of control, or it just doesn't happen. Like that's a invalidating. You got to feel powerless.
Yeah.
In that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So that was quite difficult. And, I stayed connected as much as I could with contacts at home and with people who had gone and come back. And everyone was telling me basically, look, forget it. I mean, the country is just not salvageable, not anytime soon. So I did eventually let go of, the whole idea that we would actually be able to go back and, have some kind of life there. But, yeah.
What kind of, efforts were you making to make it back there?
So I was connected with various NGOs, specifically women's groups who were from, different parts of the world as well. It wasn't just American women, and it was quite a few European women as well, women from the UK. A lot of women were professionals, had different backgrounds. Some didn't have, any sort of quote unquote professional whatever, but just wanted to do something, some kind of volunteer work, anything. I mean, these are all people in the diaspora who wanted to get together and try and make a difference. And yes, some did go, some made it into levels of government, some, made it and had some sort of representation, but a lot of them ended up coming back because it got dangerous. Some didn't survive. It was just the way things were. I mean, it was lawlessness really in most parts of the country for quite a long period of time. So, and I did remain very, very connected, but then, by then I had also had a child and he was young, so I couldn't exactly pick up and go. I do ask myself now, had I not had a child in that moment, would I have gone? And I probably would have, just to try, but the situation wasn't safe enough, to go and to risk it. So, I just kind of had to accept reality at that point, which was very difficult, but I had no choice really.
How does that feel? Like, and what I mean by that is, how do you reconcile this? I mean, it seems like you have a humanistic sort of loving view of the world, which is beautiful and lovely, and that's how I look at the world. And then you're met with like this inhumanity and this killing. How do you reconcile that for yourself?
I'm not even sure I have, to be honest with you. I don't even know if I have really managed to, because I'll tell you, fast forward some years later in Vienna, I was completing my master's, and my thesis involved violence against women in Iraq and how it compared pre-war to post-war. And, when you're crunching numbers, and you forget there are people behind those numbers. There are people's daughters and whatnot behind those numbers. There are human beings. And I ended up in probably the darkest place you can imagine. It was, my mental health took such a dive. I barely made it out of that program. It was so exhausting for me. And even now, I still get a little emotional talking about it. But out of that darkness and out of that moment of just complete and utter despair and being faced with, oh my God, what has happened to my country? And I couldn't stop this. I ended up somehow reconnecting with ancestry and the goddesses of the land and that whole, sort of pantheon of belief. And I thought, okay, there were better times. Yes, of course, it's something I knew, but this wasn't something I had looked at for a long time because, you're focused on the present and you're focused on trying to change things and make things better. But kind of going back to that and looking back to that. And I always laugh when I tell friends, I said, it's like my ancestors kind of reached out and slapped me and said, hey, we're still here and we'll be okay. This country is going to be okay. I mean, it's fallen and risen several times and the people are tough. I have to hand it to them, being through what they've been through.
Yeah.
But just, I think I needed to be reminded of that part of it, that part of the story. And it's not just all doom and gloom and despair. There is such a rich history and culture that just spans back thousands and thousands of years. And, and that's kind of where I am right now. I have started reconnecting again and trying to have a deeper understanding of my country. And, yes, I understand things happen and that we're dealing with stuff today, but I think sort of my spirituality is very much intertwined with the land and with the ancestors as well. So that has kind of given me a way to look at things a bit differently, in spite of such difficulty and horrors even. So for sure.
So when you say that, what do you mean exactly? How do you look at it now? And how is your spiritual practice, your spiritual framework helping with that?
So I, just to backtrack a bit, I mean, I grew up in a pretty patriarchal sort of home and, things were pushed on us I know a lot of people have dealt with this. I mean,
Samesies.
It's difficult, and it's like you're trying to kind of undo all that programming and it's hard. And I feel like I've been doing that my entire life. I mean, my entire life I have been somewhat of a seeker, of spirituality and trying to connect. I've always had this feeling that, not God in the sense that we were taught, but, something else like nature for me that's divine. The change of the seasons is divine. That's something that I take a lot of comfort in, actually. And spiritually speaking, for me, it is definitely the divine feminine, which has helped me sort of reconcile my own issues growing up, and dealing with being, a woman in a very patriarchal home and having a lot of misogyny thrown my way a lot and, having opportunities not be available to me, because I'm a woman and all that. And it's, and that's something a lot of women deal with, but I'm like still trying to sort of unravel that. But I think that the divine feminine, the goddess, and especially, sort of connecting with the goddess of my own land, where I feel like I have this pull, has really helped me look at things differently. Like, okay, it's not, I'm not entirely powerless. Let's just put it that way, where I may have felt that way growing up. So that has brought me, unbelievable comfort and a lot of joy, really, in a lot of ways as well. It's helped me tremendously, I have to say. So
I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you.
I mean, you do hear that. As someone who was raised in a, pretty evangelical Christian home,
Right.
very
Right.
strict,
Yeah.
and has since moved away from that. I consider myself, a humanist.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just agnostic, but I'm open to really anything. I think there's a lot of
Right.
beauty in many religions and
Mhm.
spiritual practices. You hear this thing that there is comfort in sort of letting go and believing in something bigger than yourself.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I just feel whatever brings you, a sense of peace and just joy, and you're not worrying or panicking or just overthinking even, really. I mean, it's just, for me, my spiritual practice is, like I mentioned, even just acknowledging the change of the seasons. I mean, for me, that's incredibly beautiful and divine, and for me, that's a reminder that things never stay the same. No matter how difficult the situation might be, it's going to pass. It will change. The flowers do bloom again, and it's something that I've always kind of looked at and turned to, especially in recent years. And it's something I also teach my kids. I mean, it's a very sort of visceral understanding, and something that they can really see. They can really see change. They can see things happening, and it's beautiful. So yeah.
I mean, hearing you describe it, it sounds very Buddhist, in fact, actually.
Maybe. I mean, I have researched so many traditions. I've looked in so many places. I've spoken to so many people, just kind of, looking and seeking and trying to have an understanding. But I kind of settled in my own sort of space. I can't really even name it at this point. It's just, it is what it is. And, I feel well when I engage with it or I think of it. So as long as it keeps me feeling this way, I'm on the right path for me. So
I love to hear that. And that's really where it's at, right? It's about
yes,
what's, it's unique to each of us. I
yes,
think when I
absolutely.
said it sounds like Buddhism, like,
Yeah.
there are many things that sound like Buddhism, right? I think
Yes,
we
yes,
take what works for us,
yes,
and that has to be the case, because only
yes,
only each of us are going to know what's best for us, because it takes that work, asking the
absolutely.
questions and looking inward.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So when
I mean, what
you're
works for me is not going to work for someone else. So, and
absolutely,
the other
yeah,
way around. Yeah, for
when you
sure.
are feeling more anxious or depressed, what I'm going through, particularly like very high anxiety period myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What aspects of your spirituality help you get through those periods?
I mean, oftentimes it can be something as simple as just stillness and just having quiet, just having a moment to sort of sort out my thoughts, because I understand, with anxiety as well, the mind can sometimes race and it can go places, and you're trying to slow it down and you can't. I think sometimes just kind of letting go and just letting it be and sort of waiting for it to pass, trying to ride it out a bit, almost like I do with my migraines, really. If I'm feeling well enough, honestly, I will go outside. Because I do really feel a deep connection with nature and with the outside. It does kind of ground me a bit when I'm kind of feeling a bit, scattered or unable to manage whatever I'm going through. Excuse me, at that moment. So that's it's quite simple. It's not even, I don't even try and overdo anything. I don't do anything elaborate because I don't stick to it. It's just how I am. But it's just, that's it. I write too. I mean, I write a lot, so that if I'm feeling well enough, I will write, and that does help a lot. It's really simple, to be honest. It's nothing crazy or nothing over the top, or
Yeah, it
what.
sounds like
Yeah,
a really conscious interaction with the world.
it's kind of developed and evolved over time. I just don't fight it anymore. I've sort
Yeah.
of, I think just the older I get, the more I am inclined to just accept what is. As you mentioned earlier with your stomach issues, just kind of accepting it, and it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And And that's also why I found myself being a lot more vocal about my own mental health and my own struggles. Because I mean, it's not going to go away. It's manageable. You manage it, but it is a part of your life. No, it doesn't define you. It's not who you are, but it is an aspect of you. And that's just something that, you need to, or I felt I needed to just, accept and be okay with, for my own self, really. So I do speak out. I don't have, I know there's still stigma. And of course, in my culture, there's still a lot of stigma about that. You just don't talk about these things, and, people don't engage in these discussions and whatnot. But I just ask myself why. I mean, why suffer in silence? There are so many people who you can reach and maybe even encourage by, if they're seeing you be vocal about it, then maybe they'll feel well enough one day too as well. I mean,
Indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, that's become also a big part of my life and what I do. So for sure. Yeah.
Have you, you mentioned, in your culture, it's a bit more
Yeah.
stigmatized. Have you had these conversations with them?
I mean, I've tried.
You've tried?
I've tried. My siblings aren't very inclined to be very vocal. And look, we all grew up in the same home. So what are the odds that I am the only one that came out with issues?
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at that. I mean, I'm pretty in your face about it. I will tell them flat out, because I love them, that, you don't need to deal with this on your own. I mean, there are ways, there are resources. I mean, don't assume that you just have to, put on a sort of, this facade and act like everything is okay when everything is most certainly not okay. I mean, I'll be honest, I was diagnosed with complex PTSD. You don't get that in a stable environment.
Right.
And, that is serious. And, that took, something else to get that to be the case with me. So that's why I'm very open and vocal. But I also realize that there is like something in the family as well. And because there is such a stigma, nobody talks about it. Nobody, let alone gets help for it. So I was able to kind of trace it back through the family line and see, perhaps where I can find it. And it's difficult, but there is certainly something there.
Yeah.
I know I'm not sort of an anomaly. So there is definitely a genetic link, a genetic factor. So, and that did contribute to, everything else. But
Are you working are you working on, you had mentioned earlier that you have a lot of memory loss, and is that something you're working on with your therapist?
I am, but and she's absolutely lovely. And the way she put it was, it's your brain protecting your heart, basically, and you're not quite there yet. You're not ready yet to start accessing all of that, and and you might never be fully ready, and some of it might come back. And honestly, some of it has come back. I mean, I was looking at my younger son is 9, and I was looking at him the other day, and I just kind of had a flash of something, and that has never happened before. So, and I remembered myself at 9, and it was quite troubling, and it was difficult in that moment because all of the sort of physical, stuff started to come up. Like I started to get a stomach ache, and I started to feel very tense. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe I don't need to be remembering anything right now because, I am just not able to handle it at this moment. It's just too much. So we're not, I mean, if it comes, it comes, and I'll just deal with it, as I go through sessions and whatnot, but it hasn't necessarily been a focus. Let's just put it that way. So
are you worried that something will come up that is truly, life altering?
Yes, I am. And I don't know. I suppose it's a matter of we'll cross that bridge when we get to it type of situation. I'm trying not to focus on that, but yes, that is in the back of my mind. It is something that, well, if my brain has gone to such lengths to keep things, unclear for so long, then maybe there is something there that I am just, I don't know, it's just too difficult to access. So, yeah.
But you're also
I don't know.
building, it sounds like you're building like the tools to be able to cope with that when it does come.
Right.
I mean, if it does
Yeah.
come at all, like it sounds like you're doing the work to
Right.
understand yourself, to know like the types of things to go to when you're struggling,
For sure. For sure. And that's, of course, um, I've really only I've gone back to therapy. I think I started just earlier this year. It hasn't even been that long. Because I was kind of at this point where, okay, I'm not able to process this on my own. I have been before and stopped. It's just because it was just too much, or maybe I didn't connect with the therapist or whatever that may be. I just couldn't stick with it. But this is the longest I've actually stuck with something and with someone, and really I feel well. I'm not feeling horrible or anything like that after sessions. Yes, it can get heavy, it can get emotional, but I feel like it's really helping me. It's enabling me to find ways to cope and manage the best way I can. But also, I think acceptance was a huge thing for me. It's just something I haven't really dealt with. That diagnosis was a new one. I didn't know it was that. I just assumed it was always the depression and the anxiety, but it went further than that. And that actually helped me to have better understanding of, how to manage things in the future and how to, be a little more gentle with myself and a little kinder with myself. So
that's great. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's such a powerful thing when we can name something,
Yes. Yes.
What kinds of
Absolutely.
things was the therapist teasing out of you to determine this complex PTSD?
Well, so it was probably, I would say, whatever I can remember from childhood. I did tell her, I did talk about. She did this sort of diagnostic thing where I answered certain questions, and um it did show that yes, there were situations where it was an issue where it was just prolonged abuse and neglect as well, and fear. Fear was a huge part of it. Fear is a huge part of a lot of what I've dealt with. It's much better now, but that is something I've really battled with for a long time. Just not feeling safe, I think, as well, and not feeling very rooted anywhere. Kind of waiting for the disaster to strike. I feel like I'm always sort of on guard, and I've always kind of got, you know, I don't know. I'm always just kind of waiting for something, for shit to hit the fan or something to go wrong, and that's just something that I just thought I was doing. I thought it was just a personality thing. I thought maybe, oh, it's just how I am. But no, it's like a hyper vigilant state, and for, a lot of ways. And so, yeah, it's definitely, it's been difficult. I mean, yes, she was asking questions, and it did lead to tears on a few occasions because there were things that I had a very hard time repeating.
Yeah.
And saying and talking about, because I had to kind of recall it. And then again, I started to feel the really very physical aspects of that memory, which are awful and just make it all the more real. But, yeah, it was not easy, growing up at all. I honestly, I hate to say it, I don't even have any happy memories, let alone any memories at all. I have a handful, but it's not much. It's quite awful. I mean, even my siblings do recall. They've got better memory than I do, and they don't like to talk about it either. I think sometimes they cope by making light of it. And that's fine. That's their thing.
Yeah.
But I just can't.
Yeah.
It's too heavy. It's too heavy for me. It's too much. I just don't want to be carrying it anymore. So I'm kind of over it, to be honest with you at this point. So
I hear that. And it's I think an important thing to recognize that, your experience was very real and valid, and even if your siblings had maybe little different experiences and they've been impacted differently, like it doesn't take away from your experience.
No, absolutely not. I mean, everyone's different. Everyone kind of responds differently and copes differently, and I completely understand that. So yeah, definitely.
Can you help me understand? Well, first, what is the divine feminine?
Mm-hmm. So, I don't even look at it as like, well, God is a woman type of thing. I don't like to kind of take that whole structure and just put a female aspect to it necessarily. I feel like the divine feminine is it's everywhere. It's a creative force, and it's something that we all hold and we all carry, no matter what gender you are. It's just that sort of, how do I even explain it? How do I even put it? It's almost like a feeling. It's hard to even explain. It is the nurturing aspect, of course. It is the creative aspect, of course, but it can also be a destructive aspect. I mean, there are many faces to the divine feminine. If you look around the world, different cultures and regions have different, names for her or who she is or whatnot. But it's kind of like I look at it as this energy that just has many, many facets to her, just as any human being would. I mean, a human being is just not, sort of one-sided. But for me, I very much feel like a mother connection, because I didn't have that growing up. That was what was lacking for me. So I connect to it kind of like as I call her the cosmic mother almost. She's sort of this, for me anyway, it's this very nurturing, loving, I accept you as you are, you're also a divine being type of energy. That's how I feel it really, and feel her in that sense. So for me, that's really, really brought me a ton of comfort and it has helped me in a lot of ways. It has helped kind of heal that sort of that gap that I had growing up. So for sure, that's been a huge part of my healing as well.
And how did you learn about this aspect of spirituality?
So it had to have been, I mean, going back to that period of time during my master's thesis when I was digging, in Iraq and whatnot. I was looking at the different regions, and I'm not even sure how it happened. I always joke and say it was clearly divinely inspired, but I somehow ended up back, looking at ancient Sumeria, and the goddess Inanna, and her story is a descending story. And, she goes to the underworld to meet her sister, and her sister can be looked at as an aspect of her, as her shadow self. And she dies and is resurrected. Where have we heard that one before? But
in every religious story.
Exactly. But I just thought, wow, there's a feminine face to this story. And, she kind of went through this trial, she went through 7 layers or 7 doors or 7 entrances. It's just, there was just something so deep and so incredible about the story, where she just literally descended into the depths of hell and died and came back and was resurrected stronger than ever. And that is such a metaphor. It's such a huge metaphor. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe I'm having, a dark night of the soul, as it were. And that's kind of how I was able to connect. I connected with her on that level. And also thinking that, well, my country's kind of going through this too. My country's sort of in the underworld right now. And I think that's kind of where we are. But then at the end of it, things will kind of come back and resurrect and be different and be changed. And we learn from that. And I think for me, that has been a very, very important part of my understanding of spirituality and cycles of life and just the way things are and how things are never stagnant. So yeah, that's definitely for me. That was it. It was this particular goddess, and it was from this particular region of the land I was born in that I connected with on a very deep level. So, or shall I say, reconnected with. So
yeah, and it's such stories, right? Stories are so powerful and moving, and we get so much out of them.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. It's incredible, really.
Yeah. You saw this metaphor and this powerful story, and it allowed you to connect with yourself and apply that to yourself, which is so great. That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just, I guess I just kind of needed to see it in that moment. And it just really gave me such clarity and gave me a different sort of way of looking at things, which, I'm very grateful for. So absolutely.
That's really what it all is. Like, whether you believe one thing or another, it really is about how you connect with the thing and what you bring to it and how it's impacting you personally.
Exactly.
Like for me, stories are huge, and creating worlds and, using my imagination and like living out my fantasies as Billy Coleman from Where the Red Fern Grows, as a boy tromping through the woods. Like those, all of these things are examples of connecting with stories and having them impact you on a personal level for growth, for learning, for, all that stuff.
Well, and also for me, I have to say, not long after that, a couple of years, I want to say after that, I connected with my soul sister, my beloved Trista Hendren of the Girl God. And I connected with her after I submitted something for one of her anthologies, and we just started talking back and forth. And she mentioned she was doing a series of children's books based on the divine feminine and goddesses from different cultures. And I rewrote an honest story in a few minutes for a younger audience so that it's not too scary, but that it's still, the lesson is there. And we published it. So that was amazing because I felt like I was able to sort of say thank you, and kind of give back and say, I hope that someone else takes from this and is able to have, that wonderful moment of clarity that I did. So yeah, that was very important to me. And I'm really, really fortunate that I had the opportunity to do that. So that was nice. It was wonderful.
That sounds amazing. How would you, Tamara, for someone like me who knows nothing about the divine feminine and that world, how would you frame it to allow someone to maybe learn more about it and connect with it in a way that you've connected with it? Obviously, we all do it differently, but how do you position that to a silly, dumb boy like me?
No. And actually, I would dispute everything you just said. I think you are connected. I think you are absolutely connected because you're a creator. So I think you have tapped into that aspect, and you're communicating and you're reaching out and, you're nurturing and, you're helping with resources and whatnot. So to me, that completely embodies the divine feminine. So
all right,
I think you've got it. So
Yay.
I think you've got it. I think you're good. I think you're good.
Validation is great.
Hey, I have to give it where it's due, right? But honestly, I think just anything that is just creation, really, imagination, just, tapping into that, we've all got that aspects of ourselves that maybe we forgot, that we had as children. And it was, they told us we had to grow up and do other adult things and be adults and whatnot. So, but just kind of tapping back into that, it's a very primal sort of thing, I think, honestly. So, that's for me, that's a big part of it.
How does this framework, the divine feminine, the spiritual perspective, how does it heal a world that's patriarchal, that's toxically masculine?
Yeah. Well, and that's what it is. It's toxic masculinity. It's not, that's the best way to describe it. I mean, I think that it's really understanding and getting in touch with that whole aspect and realizing that that is a thing. It's not like this world is not one-sided. We cannot, look, we cannot keep going the way we're going. It's not feasible. We're not going to, I always say, and I hear other people say that, we need the planet doesn't need us, and to me, the planet is feminine. I feel, mother, Mother Earth. Yeah. So, that's a big part of it right there. Look what we're doing to this planet, first of all. What are we going to leave for the next generation? I worry about my children every day. It's just, I ask myself, what are we doing and what are we not doing really? But I think it's really rooted in that. That's a big part of it is, if you're not going to respect this land that you're on and the nature and everything that, all the abundance that it provides, and you're going to turn around and harm it, then, you're heading for trouble, which we can see, so I do feel I have a deep belief that the divine feminine and that energy can heal this planet if, we need to kind of make it happen. But I also feel like maybe it's a bit optimistic, but I also feel like patriarchy is kind of on its last leg. And that's why things are so very ugly right now. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of like hanging on by its fingernails type of situation.
Yeah.
That's just a sense I have. I hope I'm right.
I hope you're right too. We have here in the States, Trump as president, for goodness sake.
Yeah. If that doesn't, show you, what else are you going to say? It's just things are just so nasty, and I posted this meme a while ago about how things are being unveiled, and they are, we are being shown these things, I think, because we now have to make a choice. We need to, decide the direction of our lives and our future. And I do believe we have a choice. I do think, things do not have to go the same, down the same path. Things can change. And I do have a bit of optimism, maybe, but I am hopeful. And I also feel like people are becoming more aware. People are, waking up. People are understanding things and seeing things for what they are and realizing that, the way life is just not sustainable. We need to make some serious changes. So,
yeah.
I
agree.
That remains to be seen.
I do agree. I think we are doing better. I think certainly there's a lot of room for growth, but I do feel some shift.
Yeah, for sure. There has to be.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Yeah, there has to be. Tamara, how are you bringing your spiritual practice into your family and with your kid? How does that work?
So, we're pretty open in my household. We're not, we don't focus on anything religious or anything like that. But as my younger son, he's 9. He didn't know the differences between the religions, for instance, and for me, I counted that as a victory. So I thought, okay, this child is still innocent in a sense where he's not, he doesn't understand the sort of divisions between people and whatnot.
Oh, that's beautiful. Because being raised in a hyper Christian environment, like there were divisions.
Yeah.
Like this is
Yes.
something you do not do. This is a negative. This is the
Yes.
wrong way to believe. All these things.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and I didn't want that for my kids. And, you know, I mean, I think they'll probably lean on the more spiritual side as well. My older son has an existential crisis every other week. He's 15.
Well, that's
But,
just what teenagers do.
he overthinks things and whatnot, but he does come to me and sort of, discusses things with me and, well, what do you think about that? And what, and whatnot, which I appreciate. So I just keeping the dialogue open, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
As well as not ruling with an iron fist. I mean, so
Totally.
just keeping things light, but also like I did, I talked to them about nature. I talked to them about the cycles of life. I talked to them about, the things that I understand and the things that I can actually point to and say, look, it's things do change. Look at the cycles. Look how incredible this planet is. Look how these two different hemispheres can be holding different seasons simultaneously, and things like that, things that they can really like kind of see and connect with. And that's sort of how I keep it going here. I mean, I'm not, there's nothing sort of structured at all, but I guess they sort of pick things up from me and from what I do and whatnot. So, they kind of do their own thing. And if they have questions, I answer the best way I can. And that's it. And if it leads to a discussion, even better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because I value their voices and their opinions and what they have to say. It's really important. And hey, they've taught me a lot too. So I have to give them that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. It sounds like a very open and healthy space.
I'm trying to do my best. My older son especially knows of my health. He has asked, and I have been very open and honest with him. So when he sees my health sort of take a dive, he is able to cope really well with it, because I thought, look, I need to be clear and I need to be open with them. And mommy is not always going to be smiling and feeling well.
Right.
And I cannot do that to them. I cannot leave them in this, well, what's wrong with mom? When one minute she was okay and the next minute she's, locked herself in the room, won't come out. I'm not going to do that to my children. So he knows exactly what the diagnoses are and he's very, very aware and he knows what to do when things happen. So I'm happy in that sense. Sometimes I feel guilty and I feel like, God, I am burdening these children and they don't deserve this. And that does cross my mind. I do have those moments and it's difficult. But at the same time, I think, well, I would much rather be open and clear with them, age appropriate, of course. The younger one is not quite sure, but, he understands a little bit, but it's not like my older son does. And I just wanted to be open and honest. And I didn't want anyone to feel like I was keeping things from them.
Right.
And I also wanted them to understand that it's okay to be like this. Totally. It's okay to have these moments. And especially since they're boys, I don't want them to feel like they have to hide emotions or anything like that and put up this sort of strong front, all the time. I mean, and that is really important to me, that I do that. And I think the result has been, a couple of pretty, empathetic children. So I'm really happy about that.
I have a little bit more hope for the future of humanity.
Here's hoping.
Yes, here's hoping.
Here's hoping. I've done what I can.
Well, you want to talk about empathy heroes?
Oh, empathy heroes.
So, as we start to wrap it up, listeners, we always talk about empathy heroes. And I'm going to go first. My empathy hero this week is Joan Didion, writer, beautiful writer. And I just want to, I love this quote from her that I'm just going to
Yes,
say right
please.
here. She says,
Mm.
quote, "I'm not telling you to make the world better because I don't think that progress is necessarily part of the package. I'm just telling you to live in it, not just to endure it, not just to suffer it, not just to pass through it, but to live in it, to look at it, to try to get the picture, to live recklessly, to take chances, to make your own work and take pride in it, to seize the moment. And if you ask me why you should bother to do that, I could tell you that the grave's a fine and private place, but none I think do there embrace. Nor do they sing there, or write, or argue, or see the title bore on the Amazon, or touch their children. And that's what there is to do, and get it while you can, and good luck at it." End quote.
That is perfect.
Isn't that amazing?
That is perfect.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it too.
Thank you. That was amazing. Oh my gosh. So my empathy hero is you.
Oh my gosh. Get out of here.
So listen, when I first started listening to your podcast, I was in the throes of another one of my meltdowns, as I affectionately call them.
Mhm.
And I think that the ability to be open and honest about struggles, and I'm hearing, first of all, a male voice do it in such a way that is so nurturing and loving and gentle and non-confronting. And truly, you truly do carve out this space, this safe space where people just feel like they can just be. And I have to tell you, I am so incredibly grateful for that, because that has helped me on so many levels. I can't even begin to explain it. To the point where I have even told my older son to listen, because I think, this is really, really beneficial. These are conversations that need to be had and need to be listened to. And, it does provide greater understanding. And what you're doing by kind of removing this horrible stigma, and by showing that, we are vulnerable, we're not, and we're not infallible, and we are just doing the best we can, and life can get overwhelming sometimes, but we can get through it, and we survive. We're survivors. It's amazing. But no, I have to say it, and I have to acknowledge it. You're just, what you're doing it's a lifesaver. It really is. I hope you know that.
I thank you very much. That's very kind.
Thank you.
You're very. That's the best thing I could possibly hear. It's what I want. It's like I want. Yeah, I want these spaces all over the place. I want this show to inspire other people to create their own safe spaces, to have the courage to do so. Yes. And yeah, it's what the world should look like.
Yes. And I think that is also a very important part of healing this planet.
Oh yeah.
So
well, thank you.
Sure.
That's very kind of you. I was not expecting that, and you're very sweet. And
I'm sure you weren't.
And you made my day. And I have goose pimples.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, bless you. I'm so happy.
Thank you. Well, let's talk about where the listeners tomorrow could read your writing, connect with you on Instagram, all those sorts of things.
Sure, absolutely. So they can check out The Girl God, thegirlgod.com. We're on Facebook as well. So I do have the children's book. My name is Inanna. And I've got a poetry book as well, As I Lay by the Tigress and Weep. And we also have an anthology for Inanna, which is really beautiful because it's just a collection of women's stories and poetry and experiences. And it's powerful and incredible. So that was just a joy to be able to work through. I do also have something in the works. I do have another book of poetry. I'm working with a smaller publishing company based out of the UK. That's pending. So that is kind of on its way. You can connect with me on Instagram. It's just my first and last name. It's just Tamara Albanna, and that's it. It's easy. And all my links are there also. I do have a blog, which I'm not the greatest at keeping updated, but hey, it's there. So yeah, that's me. That's where I can be found. So
Well, great.
I look forward to
Listeners,
connecting with more people.
what's that?
I look forward to connecting with more people, of course.
Oh, yes. Yes. Go connect with your listeners. I'll make sure all that stuff is in the show notes. Well,
Fantastic.
Tamara, thank you so much for being on You Me Empathy and for your framework. I love it. I aspire to connect with more of that framework. I sometimes struggle with that. But yeah, you're an inspiring human, and I'm glad you're raising the next generation of little empaths.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. And to you listeners, I'm here, you're here. We're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's You, Me, Empathy.